You're watching Toon Army TV. This is the match review. Let's get this over and done with. Newcastle United have lost their final pre-season friendly at home to Stoke City of the Championship 1-0. It was the final game at St James's Park before we take on West Ham United next weekend in the Premier League. And I have to say, it's embarrassing. I'm worried. I'm concerned. I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, everything's going to be all right. We've got West Ham will turn things around. We've been utterly woeful in pre-season. It started off really well. We beat Crewe, we beat Barnsley, but then we take on Middlesbrough and Stoke, both average Championship sides, and we lose against them. Yes, you can lose 5-1 to Middlesbrough. It can happen. But then you can still turn it around against another Championship side in Stoke City. But yet we show the same attitude and we lose by a goal to nil. I mean, looking at the side, Steve Bruce went with ASM, Andy Carroll and Miggy. They should be good enough to notch against Stoke City of the Championship, yet we haven't. And Stoke City have hit on the counter-attack, and they've scored after 38 minutes through Sam Clucas with a header past Caldolo. And talking of Caldolo, why did he start the game today over Mark Gillespie? Because Mark Gillespie should be starting this game, in my opinion. Caldolo was awful against Middlesbrough. His positioning was all over the place. You could argue that he wasn't sort of helped with the defender at times against Middlesbrough. But Mark Gillespie should be getting a chance in these type of games. It's a pre-season match. And then Steve Bruce can sort of pick and choose what keeper he wants to use for the game against West Ham. Caldolo or Mark Gillespie, because Dubravka, for me, can't come back quick enough because he was our saviour last season. Now, second half, we definitely didn't do too much in the game. Stoke had some chances, and Stoke came close a few times when they actually hit the inside of the post. It bounced out. It could have been 2-0 there and then. Gregory had a chance as well for Stoke. We had a few counter-attacks, but it just wasn't enough. Steve Bruce brought on the likes of Mutu and Joe Linton, and surprise, surprise, we didn't score come the end of it because Joe Linton, for me, isn't good enough. Mutu hasn't got a future at this football club. I'm surprised he even started because he's like Casper the Friendly Ghost. You hear about him, but you never see him. Dwight Gale, where we could have been relying on goals, is out for up to 3 months. And then you've got Andy Carroll, but only fitting out striker. How long is he going to survive in the season? I don't know. He's injury prone. Is he going to last a full 90 minutes? Definitely not. And what really concerns me after this defeat, we've lost 2 back-to-back games against Championship opposition. If we can't show up against Championship opposition, what makes you think that we're going to turn up against Premier League opposition in West Ham, Brighton, Burnley, etc.? Because we're not. If we perform like that against top 6 opposition like Man City, Liverpool, Chelsea, we're going to get absolutely pumped. 7-8-0. It's going to happen under Steve Bruce because he doesn't have a clue. Now, he came out at the end of the game and he said along the lines of, oh, I'm glad that we've ended the game injury-free, but yet he didn't really talk about the bigger picture, which was the Stoke City defeat, and we've lost to Middlesbrough 5-1. We're losing against average Championship clubs. What do you not understand? And I hope Mike Ashley is watching this or even listening, probably not. If you do not pull your fingers out your arse and get in a striker like Callum Wilson or a Ryan Fraser who can assist. If we don't have that focal point for this new season, if we go into the new season with Andy Carroll as we're only fitting out an out striker, we are going to struggle. Trust me, we are going to struggle. Big time. We are not going to finish 13th. We are going to be in and out of that relegation zone. And I tell you what, if we stay in that relegation zone with this current squad under Steve Bruce because he hasn't a clue, then we're not going to get out of it. And if we do go down, it's our own fault. We've had plenty of time now to get players in the door. You look at this side, man, and you even look at the defence, it's all over the place. I mean, there's disciplinary problems. I mean, Lascelles getting sent off against Middlesbrough didn't help. In a pre-season, something isn't right in the camp, and it needs to be sorted out right now because we can't have this attitude going into the new season. Otherwise, we're going to lose more games than we'll win. And with the conceding of goals as well, if you concede a lot of goals, right, you're not going to win games. And if you don't win games, then 9 times out of 10, you're going to be bottom of the Premier League. Now, I did put us 16th in the Premier League predictions, but are we going to stay 16th place playing like this? No, I'm probably being too kind. I think we could be in the relegation zone. But if we actually do, bring in some quality, like Jamal Lewis from Norwich, like a Fraser, like a Wilson, then we've got a chance of potentially getting in the top 10. But right now, we're so short on numbers. And you just look at the all-round morale of the side, it's just not there right now. And I don't know what's going on with the chemistry. Something just isn't right and something needs to happen. Yes, I know the takeover didn't go through, But there's no excuse now that Mike Ashley can't spend on this side. We should have a competitive transfer budget in order to bring in decent players at a high level. We're not expecting the big names, but we're expecting players that are going to push us into the top 10. I don't buy this excuse of, we've only got 30, 40 million quid. With the amount of money that comes through the Premier League, that comes through the football club from the Premier League's TV rights, there should be money there. With the money that comes through the turnstiles, the food, the programmes, the drink, all of that. We should have money at this football club, and yet he feels to spend it, yet he decides to spend it on the casino. Now isn't the time to be doing that, because if we continue to keep spending on free transfers, likes of Jeff Hendrick and Mark Gillespie, then eventually you'll get found out, and he needs to now start spending money, because in the Premier League, you want to be better than the season before. And under Mike Ashley, he's trying to do things on the cheap. And I've got a good feeling that if he doesn't spend any money and bring in the players that's been spoken about from Steve Bruce, then we are not going to do anything this season. Steve Bruce mentioned in a post-match press conference after the game that there's a couple of deals that could be getting done. Let's do them now. Let's not delay. We need to get these strikers in now. We need to get Ryan Fraser in. We need to bring in Premier League quality, because right now, in part of this team, it stinks of Championship quality. And if we don't address it, we are going to go down back to the Championship where we were under Rafa Benitez in the 16-17 season. You mark my words. Yes, we've got some decent players like ASM, like Miggy, like Shelby, but they need better players around them. They need a focal point, because the strikers that we had last season simply weren't good enough. Simply were not good enough. And the pre-season, as I've said, has turned into a bit of a disaster. We've been shown up by Championship sides. I'm sure West Ham will do their homework on us right now if we don't strengthen this side. But if we can get some players through the door before the game next weekend, we'll give ourselves a fighting chance of getting something at West Ham. But if we don't, then don't expect a win. We might get a draw if we're lucky against an average West Ham side. But then we've got Brighton as well. You know, these are winnable games that we've got coming up. And yet, you look at the defeat against Middlesbrough, against Stoke, you wonder where the results are coming from in the Premier League. Let's be honest with you. Steve Bruce did get very lucky last season with a lot of the results. We did scrape them. And yes, we finished 30th, but a lot of the clubs declined. But this season's going to be even tougher, because Leeds, they're a decent side. West Brom will strengthen. Fulham shall strengthen. A lot of the clubs like Villa, who struggled last season, will struggle around. You know, they'll struggle in parts of the season, but they'll get better. But if we don't do anything about it, we'll just get left behind. And I'm sorry if it's come across as a bit of a rant, but I'm not happy seeing this club getting beat off Championship sides. You might be saying along the lines of, Sharky, but you're just overreacting. It's against, Stoke City of the Championship. We'll get better, we'll get better. Well, that's not guaranteed. It's all about the fitness, etc. Well, the lads don't look that fit to me. And with all the injuries that we've got, you've got to question what Steve Bruce does with them in training. You've got to question the decisions that he makes. I mean, I've seen them with my own two eyes last season in the matches, that he hasn't got a plan B at times. I mean, you've got his assistant coming out last week against Barnsley saying, Jacob Murphy is like a new signing. Piss off, he's not a new signing. He's been sent out on loan. Give him a chance. I mean, we've seen Steve Bruce come out and say things like, we should be like the Southamptons of this world. We are not Southampton Football Club. They got beat 9-1 off Leicester last season. Yeah, they had a good end of the season, but we are not a mid-table club. Well, we are under this ownership, but because he's not ambitious enough, we can't get in the top 10. We are a lot better than mid-table, and I will say that right now. But I do fear that we are going to lose ASM. We are going to lose Miggy Almiron in the January if we do not strengthen the side. Because right now, they're not going to want to stay here. They're not going to want to carry this side. If we go into this season without the Callum Wilsons, without Fraser, then they're going to carry the side, but they're going to get man-marked. They're going to get frustrated, but they're going to get pickpocketed from a different club, because Mike Ashley will be the first to let them go if they get, touted from another club, if they've paid more than we're paid for them. But don't get me wrong, fair play to Stoke City, but we should not be losing against sides in the Championship. And also, we should be performing a lot better. The fact that we haven't scored has really frustrated us, and the fact that, we've ended the pre-season on a low, and the fact we've even cancelled the game against Middlesbrough on Monday for one reason or the other. Why not? Just play it. You could say, well, it's saved embarrassment, but why not? You know what I mean? Like, the lads lost today. If we played Middlesbrough and got a result, then it would give them huge confidence going into the game against West Ham. But I've never been this frustrated, because we'll leave things at the last minute. And you look at this current side, right? There's so much potential with a lot of the players, but if there's better players built around them that they can focus on, trying to get results, I'm just frustrated because we should be doing better than we are. And I don't see any inclination that we're actually going to do anything for the new season, that we're going to get left behind. And I don't want that to happen to this famous football club, but Mike Ashley is ruining it yet again. And that's what happens. Joe Linton's going to have to, buckle up there for the new season. He's going to have to get better. Otherwise, for me, he's out the door by January. But for me, if we don't strengthen, then it's going to be a season of trouble. Hopefully, we'll get players in the next few days. But let's not delay. Anyway, if you're new around here, thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe, turn on your notification bell. Plenty more content coming your way over the course of the new season. But overall, I think this pre-season's been a bit of a disaster. You could say, yeah, Sharky, it's 2 wins and 2 defeats. But there you go. Look at the clubs that we've played. Put all that into perspective. We're not a good side. It's been proven. Yeah, the alarm bells are ringing at St James's Park. Alarm bells. And I will say that right now. And if we don't address it, then expect the worst.